everyone, and welcome to our Learning Series webinar here for July 2025, which will be on Microsoft PowerPoint Beyond the Basics. I am your VP of Marketing for Sourcepass, Dave Del Vecchio. I'm a 30-year MSP veteran and love to play host on these sessions. I've been doing this long enough, though, that I remember Windows 95 and early versions of Office and PowerPoint, which I don't know if my skills have expanded much beyond the 90s. And when I'm not doing IT, I get together and jam with some buddies just enough to say that I play bass in a band. Joining us today, as usual, on these Learning Series sessions will be Jolyn Wren. She's with the Virtual Training Company, and she's been training folks on tools such as Microsoft PowerPoint for the same 30-year span. And so we'll be jumping in shortly. But first, just wanted to kind of reintroduce you to these webinars. We run our Learning Series webinar typically on the second Wednesday of every month. They're open to everyone that works with Sourcepass or any invited guests. So if you know people who would benefit from taking part in these series, always feel free to forward any invitations to our webinar series to those either working with Sourcepass or not. We'd love to have guests join us. And registrations for future sessions can be found at sourcepass.com/events, or we do also send out a couple webinar reminder emails per month. So keep an eye on your inbox for invitation opportunities as well. In addition, we have our digital transformation series, which runs typically the fourth Wednesday of the month. And for both series, if you're looking for any prior webinar instances where perhaps you weren't able to join us but would like to go back and either refresh one you sat in on or attend one that you missed, all of our prior webinars are available for viewing at our video library, which is at sourcepass.com/video-library, or you can get to it off the menu system at sourcepass.com. So in addition to our virtual events, we run many in-person events as well. And we've got a couple coming up here in July, including next Wednesday, the 16th of July, late afternoon, starting at 4 o'clock. We'll be hosting a block party outside of our Pittsfield office, which is located at 1 Fenn Street. We'll have a food truck and weather permitting, have some yard games with things like cornhole and ladder ball. We'd love for you to join us. That'll run from about 4 until about 6 o'clock. So if you're in the Pittsfield area, please register at the landing page. It's found at sourcepass.com/events. Then the following week, we're going to be down in Richmond, Virginia, and we're going to be attending a Flying Squirrels versus Portland Sea Dogs minor league baseball game. So similarly, if you're interested in joining us at the ballpark for that evening, go to sourcepass.com/events for more information. The Digital Transformation Series webinar this month will be 2 weeks from today. Its title is your technology plan driving your company goals, or are your company goals driving your technology decisions? And the focus of this discussion will be the scope of assessments and strategic guidance tools that are available and their role both in kind of pre-project planning as well as ongoing as part of a regular technology refresh plan as part of an engagement with Sourcepass. So learn more about technology planning and how it can help drive your business more strategically with us later this month. If you have any questions during the scope of today's session, you can feel free to use the Q&A button, which is live, or use the chat. We'll monitor both. And just a reminder that at the conclusion of today's session, you'll receive a survey in order to provide feedback on the session. We ask if you please fill that out. It helps us both not only make sure that the content provided today has meet or exceeded your expectations, but also if you have ideas for future sessions you'd like to see us cover, we do take those into account and we'll often incorporate those ideas in our future calendar. So with that, I would say go ahead and I will bring Jolyn on screen. Jolyn, thanks again for joining us. And I'll turn the floor over to you for you to be able to share your screen and go from here. Thanks very much.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Dave. I appreciate it. So as Dave said, I'm Jolyn Wren. Welcome to our PowerPoint session here today. I do want to start with just kind of, when it comes to putting together a PowerPoint, a lot of times we're doing it because we want to be able to share whatever is available as far as our screen is concerned. We want to display Excel information, we want to display Word information, and put it in a more usable format. And PowerPoint definitely can do that because it's a lot more user-friendly. And today we'll talk a little bit about transitions and animation and kind of making it so that the people that are actually involved in your audience, whether it's one person or it's 5,000 people, doesn't really matter. PowerPoint can be a great choice for displaying information that you need to share with other people. So with that being said, one of the things that I wanted to start with is talking about what is referred to as slide masters. So every time that you create a PowerPoint presentation, you can come in and put in all of your content. You can add graphics. There's a lot of different types of graphics on the insert tab of the ribbon of the there's a gazillion different things you could be adding into a PowerPoint. We'll talk about a couple of different choices here today. But what I want to mention is we want to have control over what is happening on our slides, especially if we want to have patterns. Like we want to have our company logo appear at the bottom left corner of every slide. We have colors that we want to specifically be using. All of those kind of things can be set up ahead of time so that as we are creating our presentation, it's going to automatically have some elements to it already so that all we have to do is come in and add in our text and add in the additional graphics and things that we want. We want to have consistency across the board. So right now I'm showing you an existing PowerPoint presentation where I'm just in my normal view and I can see my title slide. So every time that a slide is added, it uses what is referred to as layouts. So what I mean by that is if I go to the Home tab of the ribbon, in the Slides group is this command called Layout. If I click Layout, it shows the layouts that are currently available within my presentation. Notice they all have that green bar going down or the green color consistently throughout each of those layouts. Well, each layout gives different objects known as placeholders of where information is going to go within the slides. So the title slide is what is actively being used right now, where you can see that with this title slide, it automatically has a text box for the title, it has a text box for the subtitle, it has a line separating the two, and it has this green rectangle, a darker green and a lighter green rectangle at the bottom. Well, that's okay for what I'm using right now, but this can quickly and easily change by me simply going to the Design tab of the ribbon. I'm going to close my design suggestions on the right for right now, but just so you're aware, on the Design tab of the ribbon is where we can change what is referred to as themes. So the theme is going to give you additional graphical objects appearing on the slides depending upon the layout that is being applied to the slide. It will give a set of colors that it's automatically using as well as fonts. Header fonts and body text fonts are being used and controlled by these themes. So just to give you an example, right now the theme that I'm using is the very first icon available in my themes group where if I hesitate it says retrospect. So if I go to any of these other themes and just hesitate, you will see a live preview of what the slide would look like if I decided to switch to a different theme. So a theme can definitely change how your slides are going to look. It's going to change graphical objects, the placement of where everything goes, the fonts, like I said, everything is controlled by that theme. Well, I'm not sure if you knew this, but if you create a brand new presentation, so if I come into PowerPoint and I create just a blank presentation, and I'm going to say that I want to create a presentation that's actually based on what topic I want to tell the computer. I can use Copilot to do this. So I'm going to have Copilot create a presentation for me so I don't have to create the slides. I'm going to say that create a presentation for information on communication with my coworkers. Just something like that. And I'll press enter and it will automatically generate slides for me. And because of the fact that I'm using Copilot to do this, it can also add in graphical objects. Now it does give me the ability to be able to insert additional slides or remove slides that it's suggesting, but I'm just going to go to the bottom and I'm going to say generate slides. Well, what happens when you start a blank PowerPoint or you use Copilot to create your PowerPoint to begin with is it's going to use what is referred to as Microsoft, their theme. So it's automatically going to give us the theme based on just Microsoft standards, where it's using its own set of colors, its own set of fonts, that kind of a thing. I should have picked a couple of less slides, sorry about that, but once it's done generating, you're going to see it's kind of generic. It doesn't really have a lot of bells and whistles to it. But you know what? Sometimes that's okay, because what if I want to take this and I want to modify it for my company? So as you can see, this is what it gave us automatically. I'm going to double click on the first slide because right now it's in what is called slide sorter view, where it even created through this Copilot, by the way, it automatically created sections for the presentation. So it organizes the slides into sections. We'll get into a little bit more of that here in a minute, but I'm going to just double click on the slide 1 to open it in normal view. And I'm going to go back to the design tab of the ribbon, because you can see on the left-hand side, the very first icon, you can see what it's using by default for the theme. Well, as I look at these slides, you know, some of them have this blue little bar down at the bottom. I can see on this one, which if I look at what layout it's using on this slide, it's actually, this is a slide, title slide, excuse me. You could see I have title only I could apply, but when I go to this slide, it automatically is using, and let me kind of show you that in the layout, it's using title and content for the layout. So it doesn't really have any personalization to my company, and I need it to. So what I have the ability to do, and what I highly recommend each of you do if you haven't already done this, is have a master slide layout that technically could be a theme and or could be a template for your company, that every time they start a new presentation, they go into that template and get started. So it's going to automatically have your company colors. It's going to have graphical objects that you want to appear on specific slides, whatever it is that you want. Let me show you what I mean by all this. If I go to, and just so you know, I'll be using a few different tools from the ribbon. Right now I'm going to be going to, I'm going to the View tab of the ribbon. And where I want to go from the View tab is in this Master Views group. I'm going to click on Slide Master, which means it's going to step us back into the background of these slides where we can add content or change the formatting of the placeholders that we have for each of the different layouts. On the left-hand side is each of the layouts. So as I kind of click on each one of these, if I use that layout, this is what it's going to apply. So this happens to be the title and content. This one is the subtitle. I have a comparison, you know, so you can see I've got all these different layouts on the left. Well, the very top of the left-hand side is a slide for the master that controls all slides. So if I want to have a company logo appear on every slide, no matter the layout, I can actually do those changes to this slide that I'm clicked on. This is the overall master for all other slides. Otherwise, I could go to any of the other layouts on the left and then just modify them individually. So I'll show you both. So I'm going to say I want my logo to appear at the bottom left of every slide. So I'm going to go to the Insert tab of the ribbon. From there, I'm going to tell it that I want to insert a picture, and I'm going to say from my computer, so this device, I can then navigate to wherever it's stored at. So let me just navigate to this location. Go to this folder for PowerPoint. And I have the Sourcepass logo that I'm going to insert. So here's the image, and I'm going to place it at the bottom left so that on every slide, it's going to include the Sourcepass logo. Now, I'm going to go ahead and make a couple of other changes. You can see that if I go to the tab called Slide Master, because I'm in the background of the slides, I have the ability to go to a theme. So if I wanted to apply a specific theme besides the Microsoft default theme, I want to use any of these others, I could choose them to be the master for this presentation. I'm not going to, but just so you know, you could if you wanted. Or we could go in and change the colors that are being used. We could go in and change the family of fonts we want to use for this presentation, for this entire every slide. I'm going to leave it at the defaults of what it has right now. For the colors, I'm going to choose the Office fonts, but I'm going to say for this, I'm going to go to this layout, and I'm going to say for this particular layout, I want to also include something at the bottom. Besides just the Sourcepass logo, I also want to include, maybe we have a motto, a company motto or something I want to put in. I'm going to click in this footer placeholder, and I'm going to type in, "Everyone smile. You are on camera." Just to give you an idea, I can add whatever text to this slide layout, and I could continue to go to any of these other layouts and make any changes. So once I'm done making these adjustments, I go back to the Slide Master tab of the ribbon, and on the right-hand side, I'm going to click Close Master View, which will take us back into our actual slides that we have for this particular presentation. And not sure why my company logo didn't appear, but I'll get to that here in a second. But just so you could see, if I go to, if I go to this slide, and by the way, this particular slide does have a design suggestion applied to it. I'm going to tell it that I want it to go back to the original layout. So this is the original layout. And when I do that, you're going to see the Sourcepass logo at the bottom left. So by the way, if you use a design suggestion for your slide, it overrides the original layout of the slide. Excuse me. Just so you know, it does do that. So every slide, if I go back and change the layout to be part of the default ones, you're going to see that the image is going to be displayed on every single slide. But that footer that I did is only going to be on printed. So when I clicked in the footer and I said, "Smile, everyone, you're on camera," or whatever I said, that would actually be based on printing the slides. But this is an easy way to be able to ensure that the logo is consistent in the same place on every single slide. So if I tell the computer that I want to create a brand new presentation, and if I use design layouts, like on the right-hand side, these design suggestions, it will override the layout of the slide, which the masters are only controlled by the layouts. They're not controlled by the design suggestions, just so you're aware of that. But I got to tell you, I use masters all the time. But I did have a template created with the master slides set up specifically for my organization, so that every time I create a brand new presentation, I start with that template. It's going to have my master with my logo. It's going to have my company colors. It's going to have my company fonts that I wanted to use. All of that can be saved within that master. That can be a template that we use to start a new presentation. But if it's a custom theme that you save, so if I make a bunch of changes to this and I actually go back to the design tab, just so you're aware, if I click the down arrow on the right-hand side of this gallery for the themes, I will see this presentation's theme. I will see any custom themes that I have. Then I will see the ones that come by default with Microsoft. But if I wanted to save the changes that I made to become a new theme, because let's say that I went in and changed my colors. I went in and changed the fonts, which I did change the fonts, by the way. When I was in the master, I changed the fonts to be Aptos. So just so you know, it's using Aptos. That wasn't the original. I could now save this as a theme and then use it in every slide presentation I do. By clicking Save Current Theme, it takes me back into my C drive, to my Microsoft folder, to my document templates, etc. I would give it a name. Like if my company was ABC Company, I might want to name it ABC Company Theme, and then I create another presentation and I can then apply that theme. So that theme can be reused over and over again with other presentations. But if I want this to now be a template, so I modified the master, I created and saved this theme that it's now using, which if I hesitate, just so you could see, I've got this ABC Company theme that I am applying to all slides. That is what it's using. If I want this to be the foundation of a template for my company, I could then go to the File menu, do a Save As, and save it as a template, share that template with my entire organization, and everybody can follow the same, or use, I should say, the same template. So we all have the same master slides, we all have the same colors, the fonts, the logo, everything. How we do that as a template is in your Save As, go to your drop down arrow for your file type, and then just choose that you want this to actually be a template. So I would choose PowerPoint template, choose the physical location of where I want to save it, which I would most likely put it in SharePoint where everybody can have access to it, do those kind of things. But make sure it's where everybody can get to, and then save it. Okay. Name it ABC theme, whatever you want to name. ABC template is company template, I would call it. Save it wherever you want it to be, so that you can have that as a foundation for getting started for your next presentation. That will save you so much time and effort. But there's a lot of other really cool things that we can actually be doing in PowerPoint that I want to mention here in our session today. And one of them is adding in video. Video can be added in to any slide, and audio. So we have video and audio that can be added in, and we can tell the computer when to play the video or when to play the audio. I could even say to play the audio across multiple slides, depending on the presentation that I'm doing. Or I can have the video automatically start when we navigate to that specific slide. So let's say that I want to create a brand new slide. Where my slide 4 is, I want to insert a new slide, and I want it to be based on a specific layout. I'm going to say I want it to be title only. So I want to now insert video into this slide so that when we come to this slide, it's going to automatically run that video. So it could be a message from your president of your organization. Somebody did a video or an audio recording of that person's, introduction. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the session. I couldn't be there today, that kind of thing. We could have that run through the presentation by simply going to the Insert tab on the right-hand side in the media group. You could choose video or audio. Video can be coming from a file within, like YouTube. So if you had a YouTube video, you could embed it or do a link to the YouTube video depending on how you want it to work. I could also use just online videos that are available for anyone to use for free. But if you have video that is saved to your device, choose that option. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say I already have it on my computer someplace. I want to use that video. So once again, I'm going to navigate to where the video is saved at. And then all I have to do is insert the video file. Now, the video file, if you're going to embed it, you can, of course, copy the URL and bring it into PowerPoint to have it here as well. But notice you can change, of course, the size of the video. So what do you want it to look like? But you have additional tools on the ribbon to help you control how you're going to run that video. We can say we want to run it by just clicking on the play button, so to say. Or we can actually tell the computer that we want it to automatically run when we navigate to that slide. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the playback tab on the ribbon. And from the playback, I'm going to say start. So in this video options group, I'm going to say start automatically. Now we could say loop until stopped, which sometimes we'll do that with audio, where if we want to insert audio to run from the first slide through the last slide and then start over again at the first slide, we could tell it to loop until we stop it, or we can say rewind after it plays. We can also say hide while not playing. So if we don't want to see controls and things like that, those things can be hidden while it's not playing. So just so you can see, you've got a menu of different choices. We even have trimming the video capabilities. We can have it fade in or fade out at the end. We have a lot of pretty cool options here, but I'm going to leave it the way that it is. So just so you know, if I go to run the presentation, and let's say I want to run the presentation right from this slide, I'm going to run it from the current slide, just so you can see it will automatically do that video, because that's the way that I set it up. But I'm going to go ahead and stop that. So that's how we kind of add a video in. Now, if we wanted to have audio, like I want to go to this slide and I want to have an audio recording automatically play when we come here, because it's going to be the president of the company welcoming everybody to the session, whatever. We do that same thing. We go to insert, the Insert tab of the ribbon. On the right-hand side in the media group, you can choose audio. From the audio, you could choose to record the audio. Right now, I could record it and have it be a part of this slide. Or if you already have an audio file, you can choose audio on my PC. I'm going to choose audio on my PC and navigate right back to that same folder that I was in, and I'm just going to automatically insert an audio file. So this, once again, is going to give us tools on the ribbon related to the audio. I'm going to click the playback tab, and from here, I'm going to go to start, and then I'm going to tell it to do it automatically. I'm going to say hide during the show. And if I wanted it to play across slides, I could choose that as well, or I could have the audio automatically go until we stop it. So you can see we have similar choices. Just like with the video, the audio can have some similar choices as well. Now, what it's going to hide, by the way, when we actually run this, is it's going to hide this speaker and this play option. So they don't see it. So it's a good idea to hide during show from the ribbon, because they don't need to see that. We want it just to play the sound. So once again, if I go back to my slideshow tab and say from current slide, it will automatically show that slide and it will do the audio that was a part of it as well. So just so you could see there, it didn't show that speaker in the play for that audio. Pretty cool. So a lot of times we have people that will, insert text objects, they'll insert charts, they'll insert pictures, but we don't always take it any further than that. And I really try to take advantage of having video or audio, especially with kind of that scenario I was mentioning. I help a lot of HR departments. And let's say you have a new employee, and every time a new employee starts, they watch this presentation about your company. And the very first slide could be a video of the president of the company welcoming that person to the company, and we're so glad you're here, blah blah blah. It could have all of that, and it could just automatically run when they start the PowerPoint. There's just so many ways that we can use those. I need to have somebody demonstrate, so this is we're doing a presentation that is safety related. So once a month we need to do a safety training, and we're going to be using a PowerPoint presentation, and we need to be showing, this is how you use the defibrillator. This is how you use a fire extinguisher. Whatever the case might be, it could be a video that automatically runs. Or what if you're having a presentation that is in your lobby when somebody comes to visit? There could be a presentation running on a TV screen. And what if you have a new commercial, or you have a company jingle or something that gets played on the radio? Those can actually be incorporated into the PowerPoint presentations. I also used to do a lot of trade shows. So if your company does any trade shows, you have the TV screen in the background of your booth running, you could be having those, commercials or those audio files. You could have the president of the company talking, whatever, the demonstrations of how things work. This is how you use this new product, whatever. That could all be a part of your presentation, and it could be automatically running in the background. It's not always a presentation that we're going to advance the slides by clicking. But let's talk about that. So when it comes to running your presentation, you want to set up your slides so that they can automatically move from slide to slide sometimes. Sometimes when you're doing your presentation, you want to click to advance your slides. But depending on the presentation you're doing, you might want it to automatically advance from slide to slide. PowerPoint can do either, and I've definitely used both. I was standing in front of a group of at least 5,000 people, and I had my PowerPoint timed so that I knew how long I wanted that slide to be in the big screen behind me. I didn't use a clicker button or anything to say advance to the next one. I had the timing down where it would automatically, I had it set up to move. We can do those kind of things by using what are called transitions. We can transition from one slide to the next and have it do a motion when it's moving from one slide to the next. I don't usually apply transitions in this view that I'm in right now. So what I'm going to do is go to my view tab of the ribbon, or I could go to the bottom right of my status bar of the screen. But I'm going to open up slide sorter view, because this is an easy way to apply transitions to move from one slide to another and have them be consistent. So if I want certain slides, I want slide 3 and 7 to be the same. I want slides 1, 2, and 4 to be the same. This is an easy window to use to do that. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to zoom a little bit so you can see more slides at one time, because I can select multiple slides at once in this view. I could in normal view also, but it's easier here by simply using my shift or my control key. So I'm going to say I want slide 1 and 3. I selected 1, I held my control key down, selected slide 3. I'm going to go to the transitions tab of the ribbon, And you will see these icons in this gallery of choices of different transitions that are built in. But if you go to the right-hand side and click on the drop-down arrow for that gallery of choices, we have different categories. There's subtle, exciting, and dynamic content. So depending on what you want it to look like, do you just want it to, you know, nicely move to the next slide? Do you want it to be a box that goes across? Do you want it to look like shreds? So as soon as you click on one, it will show you a preview. And because I had two slides selected, it's going to show me a preview of both of those. So whichever one of the transitions I pick, we get to see the live preview. Whichever one you were last on is the one it's going to keep. But the thing about this is, I want you to be looking at every slide. So when you look at each of these slide icons, on the bottom of the slide, it says on the left, the slide number. On the right-hand side, you will see a little star. That little star lets you know that the slide contains either a transition or an animation. I can actually click the star to preview the transition that I had applied. So just so you know, if I want to go back and preview it, I can click that star. So I'm going to just apply a couple of other transitions. I'm going to do slides 2, 4, 5, and 7. I want all 4 of those slides to have the same transition. And I want it to be a split. So now it's applying a split to each of those slides that I had selected. Then I can continue, of course, to select other slides, apply whatever transition I want. But less is more. You want to make sure that the transition that you are applying is appropriate for the content of the slide, because some of these, like dissolve, I don't use that too much. I don't use ripple too much, or glitter, vortex. Let me show you the vortex. Some of these are just a little bit too much. So there's origami, so some of them might be a little bit too much for your slide, like fracture, unless you're talking about breaking something, or crush. If you're talking about, recycling and stuff like that, that would be okay. But some of these, they distract the audience. So they might be thinking, ooh, I can't wait to see the next transition that comes in, and they're not even paying attention to the presentation. So be careful with not having too much. Now, there is a big difference in between, I just applied these transitions, but when is it going to migrate to the next slide? Well, I could go to slide 1, and when I look at the transitions tab here, I'm going to choose cube, and then on the right-hand side is the timing. You can see in the group called advanced slide here, it has on mouse click, which means when I click my mouse, it's going to automatically advance. But if I go to slide 2 and I say, okay, I want to go to slide 2, I'm going to transition to slide 2, but I want to do it after so many seconds. I could uncheck the mouse click, choose after, and then choose the time frame. The duration is referring to how fast it moves. So let me kind of change a couple of these just so you can see. I'm going to do 3 on the duration, and then I'm doing 6, which is 6 seconds before it moves to that slide. I'm going to go to slide 1, and I'm going to run this presentation just so you could see what it's going to do. So now it's bringing up the information on this slide. It's going to wait 6 seconds before it transitions to the next slide, because that's the timing that I had set up. So all depending on what it is that you want to have happen, you can have it either be timed, or you can have it be set up so that it automatically will move after so many seconds or minutes, or whatever your case might be. I really recommend that you do a lot of practicing with that, especially if you're going to have it automatically be moving. I do that more so if I'm going to have it be a loop presentation where it just keeps going from slide 1 to 10 back to 1 again and just loops back and forth, like I'm at a trade show booth kind of a thing, or my TV screens in my lobby, that kind of thing. I would set it up as a loop. Now I'll show you where you go to do that here in a moment, but just so you know, how long should it be on that slide? So if somebody's going to be looking at the slide and reading the content on the slide, how long should they be there? You know, does it take 10 seconds to read it? Does it take 2 seconds? You know, you have to know how long it's going to take. Rehearsing capabilities are available in PowerPoint as well. But notice under slide 2, it shows the seconds that I put on the timing. Now the rest of these all are on click. Just so you could see, there's no other timings on any of the other slides, so those would all be on click. If you wanted exactly the same timing on every slide, you could set it up that way. But some slides need to go by quicker than others, depending on how much content or what the slide is about. So like slide 3, slide 8, slide 12, those slides don't need as much time as slides 4, 5, maybe even 6 because of the video, etc. So we need to know what the timing should be. Now beyond that, we can also be using what is called animation. Now I'm actually going to jump back to the other presentation for a second that I started with here today. So this project management fundamentals presentation, where you could see I have 101 slides on the left-hand side. Now, of course, I won't go through all those slides with you, but let's say that when I go to slide 2, I actually want animation applied to this numbered list. When people go to that slide, I want them to see number 1, then number 2 come in, then number 3, number 4, and number 5. I don't want all of that to be there all at one time. I can select the object that I want to animate. So animation is applied to objects. Transitions are for slides, the entire slide and how it's going to move. So if I select the text box object that has this numbered list, I can then go to the ribbon onto the Animations tab. And from there, we have a gallery of choices. I'm going to choose Fly In. It's going to give me a preview showing me one of the items coming in at a time, and they were coming in from the bottom. Notice on the right-hand side of this animations group is animation, I should say, effect options. When you click on that, I could choose the direction I want the text to come from. So if I want the text to come from the right, I could choose right so it slides over this way. It all depends on what you want. Also from that effect options, it's coming in by sequence. So there's a category at the bottom of this drop-down menu for sequence, and by default it comes in one paragraph at a time, which of course is the hard return. If I wanted to come in as an object all at one time, I could change it, but usually in this type of a scenario, we want it to be by paragraph. So if I go to run this slide right now, I can go to the slideshow, say current slide. It's going to automatically give me my title. I click, it will give me my first item, click, 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 and it brings in all my items, which is great. So if I go back and select that object again for this, the animation is here. If I go to my animations tab, I can see the animation is here. But what if I want it to be based on timing? I don't want to have to click to bring in the next one. I'm okay with it coming in after 2 seconds. Bring the next line in. We have a timing group, and we can set it up so that where it says start, instead of on click, I'm going to say after previous, and I'm going to say I want it to be, well, the duration is how fast it goes, the length of it, how fast. I'm going to say delay of 0.5. seconds. Now let me show you how it's going to work. I'm going to go to slideshow from current slide. Here comes the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth without any clicking going on. It automatically did that for me. So it all depends on what it is you want. If I'm going to talk a little bit on the first item before I have the second item come in, I'm going to probably want to control it and click when I want the next one to come in. But on a course outline or an agenda, I don't always need it to. So depending on what it is, like this slide, I might want to animate these objects, this smart art object, where I have this whole smart art object, I might want that to come in one at a time, and I might want to click it. Because as I'm talking about it, I don't want the others to come in and they're reading ahead. I want them to focus on what we're talking about and what's on the screen at one time. So I'm going to go back to animations, and just so you can see, if I click the down arrow for these animations, there's different categories. There's entrance, emphasis, exit, motion pass, and there's even more down at the bottom. I usually don't go beyond this, but just so you could see, you could. So let's say that I just want, the items to appear one at a time. I can go to my effect options and I can say all at once as a one big object. I can say level 1 by 1. So we can choose how we want them to come in. All depends on what it is you want. So I'm going to do this last one, which was called level 1 by 1. I'm going to go to slideshow and I'm going to say I want to run it for my current slide just so you can see how things are going to come in. It's a matter of clicking. I'm clicking to bring in each item. Now, of course, depending on how I want those to go, this went down and then over to the next column. I, of course, can change that. We'll save that for another day, but just so you know, you can always make adjustments to this. So anything and everything can be modified. So just so you can see, back on the animations tab, we can apply multiple animations to the same objects and change how they're animated. I could even say I wanted to start at the bottom and work its way to the top instead of top to bottom. Because if I'm doing a countdown of, 10 up to 1 or whatever, I might want it to go in a reverse order. We have the capability of doing that. In this advanced animation group, we could add additional animations or simply open the animations pane, which is on the right-hand side here. I'm going to click this double down arrow so that it shows each of the animations. So if I wanted to go 1, then 4, then 2, then 5, then 3, then 6, I can actually rearrange these. So just so you could see, I could say I want this to actually, and I could remove it, or I want this, sorry, I'm trying to get my arrow here. I wanted to move that, my arrow's not coming, but that's okay for right now. I could move it that way, or I could go back to my effects and do one level at a time, which is probably easier, because then it's going to do this level, and this level all at one, or as we click or tell it to automatically move. So lots of capabilities when it comes to when you're ready to run your presentation. You have all your master created, you have your theme applied, you have all your objects entered, your text objects, your graphical objects, whatever you need. Get those all on your slides, do your transitions, do your animation. You might ask, should I use both? Or should I use one or the other? Animations versus transitions. It depends on your slides. It depends on the type of presentation. We don't have to have transitions on every slide. It's up to you what it is you want it to do. Depends on the content, depends on your audience. Okay, lots of different things can be used. But make sure you work on your timing if you're going to do that. Or remember, if they're click, you yourself will be clicking to advance to the next slide or advance the animation. But there's a lot more to Microsoft PowerPoint. So I do want to talk about a few other things before our time will be over here already. We have the ability of reusing slides from one presentation to another. So if you had a presentation that you created, but there was a different presentation that already had a couple of slides that you want, you could either copy and paste them, or you could simply go back to the Home tab or the Insert tab, and we could go to this new slide drop-down arrow and choose Reuse Slides. It will open a pane on the right-hand side where you could then navigate to either a recent presentation or go to your SharePoint, go to your OneDrive, etc., find the presentation, and then bring in the slides that you want to use. So let's say that I'm in this presentation and I want to bring in slides that are coming from this presentation. I click on the name of the presentation, then I can click to add the slides that I want to repeat in this presentation. So I'm going to click slide 2. I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to say I also want slide 7. So it's automatically inserting those slides from a different presentation wherever I put them. Wherever my active slide was at the time, it put it as the next slide. Now, of course, you know that you can rearrange your slides, so if you need to move them, you could. But this is a great, easy way to be able to add slides from another presentation. And to make it easier for you, and if you're going to have multiple presenters, when you have a lot of slides in a presentation, you're going to probably want to use sections. So the presentation that I'm in right now doesn't have any sections, because if I look at the left-hand side, which by the way, I'm just going to go ahead and close this and that. So let me kind of get that closed. I don't want to use my slide, my animation or anything anymore. I'll just leave that. But I'm just back at slide 1 right now. And let's say that these first 2 slides, slide 1, slide 2, are the introduction. I could go to slide 1 and insert a section. One way is from the Home tab in the Slides group. I can click Section and then Add Section. Then I can give the section a name, and I'm just going to call it Intro. So now all my slides are a part of that section called Intro. But let's say that starting slide 3, this is going to be lesson 1. I'm going to either go to the Home tab of the ribbon or just simply right click on slide 3, and I'm going to say Add Section. And I'm going to name it Lesson 1. Oops, not spelling that correctly, but lesson 1. Now, slide 3 to the last slide is part of that section. Yes, Dave, did someone have a question? Okay, come back on if there was. But you would continue then going through your slides, and then the next time that you have another section that you want to create, right-click on the slide, add a section, give it a name, so that you can actually go to the left-hand side, shrink and expand the slides within the sections. So if I know that I just want to work on the intro slides, I can leave those slides expanded, and the other 2 sections are shrunk up. I can see there's 11 slides in lesson 1, there's 90 slides in the PM. The best part is, what if we decided to take the slides from PM and do them before lesson 1? I can move them all at one time by clicking and dragging the section. So if I go to this PM section, I can drag it above lesson 1, drop it, and it just rearranged my entire presentation to have all of those 90 slides come before these 11 slides that were a part of lesson 1. So sometimes I name my sections based on who the presenter is for that section, or it's based on what is the topic. Because sometimes I'm doing the entire presentation or whatever. Sections to me was one of my favorite features that Microsoft has put into PowerPoint. It has been a great asset for being able to help organize the slides, and I can shrink and expand them so I don't have to see them all at one time. Because if I just want to work on the PM slides or the lesson 1 slides, I can expand that group of slides, work on those. When I'm done, I can shrink it back up. Just like we do our hierarchy with anything else, we've got the arrow to help us. So working with sections to me has been a great time saver. But also I wanted to mention that from the ribbon, we have this tab called Slideshow. From the slideshow, you could go to the Setup Slideshow. This is where if you wanted the presentation to run in a loop, this is where you could do that. We have this feature, loop continuously until we stop it or escape. So that would start on slide 1, go to the last one, start all over again, and just keep going. That is what we would use in a trade show booth or in the lobby if you have a TV screen. Otherwise, we keep it on presented by speaker full screen is what you would normally do. But just so you know, there's a lot of different settings for setting up your show. I'm going to click cancel on this right now. Because let's say that I'm going to run this presentation, but for this audience, I don't want to see slides 94 and 95. I don't have to delete them because I want to keep them because I'm going to run this again and I want to see them. But you could go to a slide and right click on it and hide the slide. So just so you know, a slide or more than one can be hidden so that when you run the presentation, it skips any of the hidden slides. So I could hide 94 and 95, run the presentation, it will skip over them. But maybe it's another day and I'm going to run the presentation and I need slide 94 this time. I could go back to 94, right click again, and unhide that slide so that now when I run the presentation, it will display that slide. So we've got some pretty great features here in PowerPoint for you to be taking advantage of. But I want to repeat, less is more when it comes to the transitions and the animations. Just because we can doesn't always mean we should. So be careful because you can lose your audience if you're using too much or the wrong type. Like some of those transitions I was mentioning, like fracture and, origami, not always appropriate depending on your topic and depending on your audience. So make sure the transitions and the animations match for the type of audience and the presentation you're doing. So Dave, I'm going to actually send it back to you for any closing or if we had any questions from the group.
Awesome, popping back on screen here. Actually, the one question that got introduced about 10 or 12 minutes ago, Jolynn, was I think Charles wanted to see a little bit more on having Copilot creating the design and the content. Can you maybe show that introduction piece again if folks wanted to start to play around with some of the creative AI that's built into PowerPoint?
100%. You could start with a blank presentation and I could have Copilot automatically create a presentation by going to this window that automatically appears, create a new presentation. But what if I have a file I want the presentation to be created based on? I don't want to just give it a description like I did the last demo, the last time I did this. I'm going to say create a presentation with file, where I could then navigate to wherever my file is, and then I can actually, so let me, I'm going to say reference file. I'm going to say I want this presentation to be based on, I'll just choose this. Just to give you an idea, I could choose whatever file, and then all I have to do is choose a design. So I could have a presentation template that I could be using. I'm just going to say select this one. I'm going to keep it pretty simple here. Oops, and then I'm going to tell it to go. It's going to take that file. It's going to analyze that file, and it was a short one. It's going to automatically come up with what it should do for slides based on the content of that Word document or PDF or whatever file it is you're using. And it's showing that here, this is how it's going to break it apart. And if I wanted to add a slide in between, I could click this plus sign, which is like designing a SharePoint, adding in web parts, works the same. We have a lot of the same content. If I want to skip this section, I could do the delete on the right-hand side, and it won't add that content into the presentation. If I want to keep all of it, I generate slides down at the bottom. Now, in the description, though, if I were to say, create a presentation that is 15 slides that is going to teach us how to use a fire extinguisher, it automatically is going to take that description, create slides, add in images, and it adds speaker notes for you. It's pretty amazing. You got to give it a try. You don't have to save it when you're done, but just play with it. Find a topic that you want to start with. I got to tell you, I have the shivers even talking about it right now. I just absolutely love the way that works. So anyway, it's going to create all these slides for me automatically, and they're going to look good. And it's giving images based on the text. So I can always go back, of course, and modify any of these, but it's pretty cool how quick and easy that was to do that.
Nice.
Okay? So I hope that helped.
I think it does, and it might actually lead into our next question. Robert asked the question, can you show us what it looks like when you add a theme and how it reorganizes the slides?
Oh
so
my gosh,
now that
yes.
maybe you could do that straight from this example, right? I mean,
Yes.
So this is what Copilot's put together for you, and now you want to assign it to one of the predefined themes. Let's see how it rearranges the content.
And that's a key thing to know about, because if you need to use a specific theme, you don't want to have a bunch of, spend hours designing it yourself. Do the theme first, because it's going to move things. So let me show you. If I go back to design, and let's say that I decide to use this, and I'm going to say I want to apply it to all slides. Now it automatically applied it to all the slides, but the content doesn't fit correctly. So I can see some of these, they have that line. The text is not sitting right. So every time you switch to a different theme, it's going to automatically look different. So you want to have a theme before you start moving things around and making changes on your slides. Make sure you define your theme first, because every theme is going to make a big difference. Look at this one. I don't like it at all. I'd have to do a lot of work to clean it up. Some of these are much better, but, so have a theme that is going to work for what it is you need. What's your content of your slides? Okay, because look at that. That doesn't look right. I don't like that. But just so you can see, here's a custom theme for an organization, and that doesn't look right either. I'm going to have to go back and make some adjustments to these as well. Some of these are okay, but they're kind of boring. Okay, so great question from whoever asked that.
No, actually, could you make this a circular reference? Can you ask Copilot, hey, clean this up again to make it format better? It'd be interesting to see if Copilot can actually do that editing for you.
It doesn't do that.
No, you've tried.
Quite that
I have
way.
not.
Yes,
it was just an idea I had. It's like, ooh, we're getting to the point with AI that you need to always have that question in the back of your mind. Can AI do this for me? So yes. I was hoping. But
it's growing with its capabilities, though. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, well, the intelligence is still artificial, so it hasn't quite reached that point yet.
Yeah, it's not human.
Awesome. So, we're past the bottom of the hour. And Jolynn, thank you very much as always. I think this has been a great session. I wanted to remind everybody that you will be receiving a survey at the end of today's session. So please feel free to fill those surveys out. It's a great way to provide us feedback. And in that survey, there's opportunities to say, if you'd like to ask for help on PowerPoint, or again, provide feedback on other content you might want to see, we'd love to hear from you. And in between these sessions, if you ever want to reach out to us, feel free to send the note to events@sourcepass.com. That comes to myself, as well as Kat Irizarry, who's been lurking in the background doing some of the back-end host duties. And Kat's the one who helps coordinate all of the invites and so forth. So thank you for all your help as always, Kat. Jolynn, great session as always. I guess we'll head back out there and start to make some customers happy. Thanks, everybody.